And once again, I want to say greetings to each and every one of you, Aquaba, and welcome. Welcome to another round of the Conscious Roster Report here on LIB Radio, LIB TV, and on livinginblack.com. My name is Keedy Owadu, aka the Conscious Roster. Weekday mornings, you and I get together live. We come at you from 9 a.m. Pacific time. That's 12 noon Eastern time, 5 p.m. GMT, and 8 p.m. East Africa time. We get together with you and we deal with culture, consciousness, historical perspectives, entertainment, economics, education, health, labor, law, politics, religion, family, conflict, future studies, all areas of human interactivity and development. Today's date is Tuesday, the 17th of June, 2025 in the Western calendar. This corresponds to the year 6265 in the Kemetic calendar, to which we have realigned our cultural clock. Welcome to the seventh millennium. You have found your family in a peaceful place here on LIB Radio, LIB TV, here on livinginblack.com. Let me tell you what we have in store for you today. I hope you find it to be an absolutely fascinating program on LIB Radio. Today on LIB Radio, we take a look inside the pages of a relatively unknown nutrition research journal. I have it here in my hand, Nutrition Health Review. Several stories have caught our attention. Orthorexia talks about when eating healthy becomes an obsession. There's a story in here about resistance weight training and why we all should be engaging in resistance weight training, especially those of us who are over, say, 60, 50, 60 years old. We talk about the impact of air pollution and why I say that you should join our detox this week. The air pollution enough is warrant our seasonal detox. And in the last story, we will talk about the overall decline in health literacy that is impacting the US population and other populations around the world. I have frequently railed about these topics in recent months. Now, I have confirmation from credible sources that indeed these are problems that we need to confront in a larger society these days. And I would say the sooner we confront them with real solutions, the better off we're going to be. So I am going to dive into this wonderful journal. And this journal is entitled Nutrition Health Review, the Consumer's Medical Journal. And the new copy out is for March and April. So I don't have my most recent copy, May and June. Maybe I do have it, maybe in the other room, or I may have just put it somewhere and tucked it out of the way. But this previous issue, I've been wanting to get to this for some time. So let's go into these various topics for today. We welcome you who are listening. Go ahead and join the conversation. Wherever you are from, wherever you are at, we encourage you to be a part of what we do here on LIB Radio, LIB TV, and livinginblack.com. Let's go right into it. So the first journal article that we want to talk about today is orthorexia. You may not be familiar with the term. You may be familiar with anorexia. You may be familiar with bulimia or all kinds of eating disorders. Rexia basically points to an eating disorder. Ortho is a word in Greek that means correct or right. So when we're talking about eating disorder, right eating disorder, that's a disorder. Let's go into that story and let's see what the author has to say about that. Orthorexia definition. Orthorexia nervosa is a proposed eating disorder characterized by an excessive preoccupation with eating healthy food. They said the disorder is characterized by an excessive preoccupation with eating healthy food. The term was introduced in 1997 by American physician Stephen Bratman, who suggested that some people's dietary restrictions intended to promote health may paradoxically lead to unhealthy consequences, such as social isolation, anxiety, and even severe malnutrition or death. Orthorexia is not an official psychiatric diagnosis, but is increasingly recognized as a troubling behavior. It is marked by a harmful obsession with eating healthy. Now, I'm still trying to sort that one out. A harmful obsession with eating healthy. What they're really pointing to is a mental illness that does not necessarily relate to truly eating healthy, but relates to a person's perception of eating healthy. And it's a mental illness. Orthorexia is not an official psychiatric diagnosis, but is increasingly recognized as a troubling behavior. It is marked by a harmful obsession with eating healthy, where individuals fixate on the purity of their food and obsess over ingredients. People with orthorexia may restrict their diets by eliminating entire food groups, such as following strict vegan, gluten-free, or organic diets. This condition can disrupt areas of life outside of food consumption, such as work or relationships. Now, if they're talking about disrupting the relationship that you have with your office workers because they eat a certain way, I can definitely see how that would be problematic. But this idea of orthorexia nervosa as a pathological mental state, I'm not going for it. I say it's not the orthorexia. It is just the fact that the person is anxious. And in this case, they're anxious that they're eating the wrong foods. Let's go forward. I got a lot of information to share on this. This condition can disrupt areas outside of food consumption, such as work or relationships. The core of orthorexia is a fixation on the quality and purity of food, often leading to inflexible eating patterns where unhealthy, quote unquote, foods are avoided entirely. What's the problem with that? While the term was coined in the late 1990s, the condition continues to be studied and discussed in the context of eating disorders. Now, here's what Health Review has to say. Orthorexia, when clean eating turns dirty. Clean eating turns dirty. This is under the public health category written by Sarah Beth Lowe, MPH, and Nutrition Health Review, March to April 2025. And anybody who wants to get a copy of this document, I'm going to push this up right now on the Rumble page. And where you at, Rumble? We're pushing it up on Rumble. Where's my live chat? There it is. Rumble page. I'm going to push it up there for you. And I'm going to push it up on my Facebook page. It is entitled When Clean Eating Turns Dirty. And pushing this up on Facebook. I am. And also, I'm going to push it up for our YouTube family, which we are broadcasting today on YouTube. So let me push it in here. Where are you at? Where is you at? Reload the site. Okay, it wouldn't let me on this site. And there it is for the YouTube family as well. When healthy eating becomes dirty, or maybe they should say, when does healthy eating become injurious? Okay, so I'm doing the best I can to get this up here. And here we go. We have it. Nope, that's not it. Don't do that. Not there. I'm going to push this up on the page where, there it is. And let's go into this article. And the author, Sarah Beth Lowe, is a communications specialist at the University of Delaware Disaster Research Center. Sound nutrition advice is rarely trendy. Often the most basic guidelines set the stage for a healthy, long-lasting life. Social media, however, may convince some people to think otherwise. Enter some of the latest diet fads. Sea moss, beef tallow, chia seed pudding, raw milk, colostrum supplements. No. Cider vinegar detoxes, yes. And charcoal cleanses, yeah, it can be part of a cleanse. The concept of clean eating has become pervasive in society, especially because of the rise of diet culture on social media. Videos linked to hashtag diet tips, and hashtag what eating a day have become some of the most popular health related searches on TikTok, boasting more than 36 billion views. Countless companies have tapped into this phenomenon by employing influencer marketing to promote their wellness products, a trend that reflects a growing societal emphasis on pursuing healthier lifestyles and making more mindful dietary choices. It's all too easy to get lost in a nutrition rabbit hole and become hyper fixated on finding the healthiest diet. Ironically, this well-intentioned endeavor can be harmful. Such a fixation on food choices can blur the lines between healthy eating and an unhealthy obsession, and ultimately spiral into orthorexia, a lesser known eating disorder characterized by an exaggerated focus on healthy eating and optimal nutrition. Though it is not officially recognized, and shouldn't be, if you ask me, in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, DSM 5, this disorder is becoming increasingly acknowledged by the medical and mental health community. Well, let's just say this much, that the medical and mental health community has a self-interest in expanding, not contracting, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. So therefore, if eating healthy, truly eating healthy, not just perception of eating healthy, if truly eating healthy is rising in the society, they should be encouraging that, except for it's going to put the doctors and the mental health practitioners out of business. If we're right, and that eating healthy will overcome diabetes, metabolic diseases, cardiovascular, cancer, and if we're right that eating healthy will help you to overcome schizophrenia, anxiety, bipolar, and other depression symptoms, then that's going to put them out of a job. So hence, who is in opposition to the idea of, quote, orthorexia? I'm going to continue. With the wellness industry only expected to continue to increase in size and influence, it is crucial to understand the difference between a mindful, balanced approach to nourishment and a harmful obsession with nutrition. Here is what you need to know about orthorexia. She writes, what is orthorexia? An American physician and holistic medical practitioner, Stephen Bradman, coined the term orthorexia in 1997 to describe patients who were inadvertently harming themselves psychologically through an excessive focus on food. So again, now they're starting to realize it is not a psychiatric diagnosis. It is not a medical diagnosis. She's saying it's a psychological diagnosis. There's a difference between psychology and psychiatry. Psychiatry deals with the brain chemistry, or not the brain chemistry, yeah, the brain chemistry and the whole body chemistry. A person can be psychiatric because they have an allergy to food. That's medical. So again, let's go forward. They had psychologically through an excessive focus on food intended to improve health and physical well-being that led to an unintentional malnutrition and or impairment of daily functioning. However, he also identified two stages of this condition: healthy orthorexia, with an interest in healthy eating with no pathological features. I would say he's describing me in that sentence. And orthorexia nervosa, with an obsessive focus on healthy eating. The name is derived from the Greek words orthos and orexis, meaning correct and appetite, relatively, and the Latin word nervosa, which translates to nervous or pertaining to the nerves. There's a fine line between eating disorders and disordered eating. And the same applies to the difference between orthorexia and orthorexia nervosa. In many cases, the latter two began as a righteous, innocent desire to improve health. Unlike other eating disorders, there are where the motivation for behaviors often centers around body image, size, and weight. Orthorexia places value on the perceived purity or cleanliness of foods. For example, people with the condition might choose to eat only organic foods or abstain from certain additives, preservatives, or food coloring. That's me. When these eating patterns and behaviors spiral into harmful habits and overly restrictive rules that interfere with daily functioning, they can spiral into orthorexia nervosa. This is a more severe and clinically significant form of the disorder, characterized by intense anxiety, distress, and impairments in daily functioning resulting from extreme dietary restrictions. Now, let me tell you, anybody suffering from intense anxiety, distress, and impairments in functioning because of what you eat is probably most likely, overwhelmingly likely, that's because you are eating bad food, unhealthy food. So I agree that those characteristics of a person relating to food are indicative of a nervous or anxiety condition. I'm definitely going to agree with that. But I'm still having a problem with where this author is writing. Clean eating and other buzzwords. In the last 30 years, Bradman's diagnosis has gained more recognition as an informal term to describe a pathological obsession with pure and healthy foods among researchers, health professionals, dietitians, and similar experts. And these quote unquote dietitians and quote unquote similar experts are the same ones that are feeding you jello in the hospital and bread and wheat products and all kind of stuff. They feed you, and these are the same ones that are designing the lunch programs for your children at school. And we do know that that is very problematic. We're going to keep going, and I want to put up this link one more time in the YouTube because it didn't all fit in there, and now it does fit in there. Okay, let's keep going. We are talking right now about orthorexia nervosa. These platforms have also become a de facto news and information source for some people. We're talking about social media platforms, especially among younger generations. Lack of regulation and fact checking has allowed health misinformation to proliferate more easily, which might also contribute to the pseudo scientific claims around nutrition and clean eating. Now, that health misinformation, quote unquote, is a buzzword that makes me afraid of this author, but we're going to keep reading through this. Maybe it's going to come around and hit us with some good information. The ambiguity of clean eating, which has no scientifically accepted definition, may have also contributed to the rise of orthorexia. The lack of clarity surrounding this catch all term, which loosely describes foods that are natural, wholesome, and free from additives, preservatives, and refined and processed ingredients, leaves it open to the interpretation. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Does not leave it open to determination. It may lead to your disagreeing, or whether it is all of that. But I would say no. This is not ambiguous when it comes to interpretation. This vagueness means that some people might take their pursuit of wellness too far, allowing their behaviors to progress from healthy orthorexia to orthorexia nervosa. Prevalence. Research on the prevalence of orthorexia remains limited and inconclusive. This largely due to its exclusion from the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, the handbook used by many health care professionals as the authoritative guide to standardize, classify, and diagnose mental health conditions. Lack of a formal diagnostic criteria and a single standardized screening tool make it exceedingly difficult to get an estimate on precisely how many people have orthorexia and whether it is a standalone eating disorder like anorexia or bulimia. Current estimates of orthorexia range widely. Some studies suggest that 6.9% of general population struggles with this disorder. I completely disagree with that. 6.9%. I would say if we're talking about the disorder of orthorexia nervosa, we're talking about far less than 1%. Let's be real clear about that. Some studies suggest, she says, that 6.9% of the general population struggles with this disorder. Studies on more specific populations, however, have shown rates as high as 35 to 57.8% in high risk groups. Well, how does a person get included in a high risk group? This author is kind of getting on my nerves. Here we go. For example, some studies show that rates of the disorder are higher in women than men, or vice versa. Now, the author is almost about to get kicked out. Others find that rates are comparable among both genders as well as age and body mass index. However, a growing body of research points to one likely trend: rates of orthorexia will continue to rise. Now, hopefully, that will be healthy orthorexia. Remember earlier she wrote about there were two types of this diagnosis. Now she seems to be only writing about orthorexia nervosa. So I'm going to give her a couple more paragraphs. If she doesn't clean this stuff up, she's getting fired. I do fire research articles. Yes, I do. I'm scrutinizing. And in the Health Review Journal, what's it called? It's called the Nutrition Health Review, the Consumer's Medical Journal. She's supposed to be accurate. Risk factors. Disordered eating and eating disorders do not discriminate. They can affect anyone, regardless of health history, gender, age, socioeconomic status, and cultural background. Research on the exact causes of orthorexia nervosa is limited, but studies suggest that a combination of factors are at play. Number one, biological. Having an individual or family history of dieting, body dissatisfaction, disordered eating, or type 1 diabetes can contribute to a higher likelihood of developing orthorexia. Two, individual. People with certain personality traits, such as perfectionism, a tendency toward obsessive compulsive behaviors, and high levels of neuroticism and need for control, may be more prone to engage in rigid and extreme dietary behaviors. Number three, psychological. People who experience high stress, anxiety, or other aspects of their lives, or dissatisfaction with other aspects of their lives, may be more likely to develop orthorexia. People with eating disorders often seek a sense of confidence, empowerment, and mastery when they feel anxious, and having strict rules around food can create the illusion of dietary control. So I understand why the author is going off on this, but I think she's describing people who are just obsessed. I'm going to wrap this up with one more paragraph. The pursuit of restrictive and narrow dietary choices has been linked to higher rates of orthorexia. Societal norms that prioritize physical appearance and equate health with dietary purity have been shown to have a similar effect. Some research shows that rates of orthorexia are increasing in Western societies with strong emphasis on health and nutrition. And she also, there's one more, she talked about psychological, but she was also talking about social. That's another key aspect of this. Social, having a higher income and access to, quote, clean foods are associated with orthorexia related behaviors. A similar trend has been seen in those who experience bullying, especially if related to body weight or body image. Some studies have shown that people working in health or other related fields, such as nutrition, dietetics, kinesiology, and biology, are more prone to developing orthorexia nervosa. And so she goes on to talk about the most common sign of orthorexia nervosa is an obsession with clean eating, healthy eating. It is characterized by a set of stringent rules around food that need to be meticulously followed to support what a person considers a healthy lifestyle. For people with orthorexia, violating these rules, which can be unrealistic and unsustainable to begin with, or deviating from their eating regimen causes severe emotional distress. This cause and effect pattern is severe enough that it affects a person's sense of self-worth and interferes with daily life. I'm going to wrap it up on that particular topic. And we're going to go to the next topic. And oh, she does have this following list. The following are common signs of the disorder: increased concern about the healthfulness of ingredients and intense fear of unhealthy ingredients, compulsive checking of ingredients and nutritional labels, fixating on preventing or curing disease with food or clean eating. Now, I am fixated on that. Uh, she might call me guilty. I would challenge her to a one-on-one debate about whether I am overtly fixated with clean eating. So, we can check these out. Avoiding or eliminating foods that are highly processed, treated with pesticides, genetically modified, contain additives and or preservatives, or have excess amounts of fat, sugar, or salt. Cutting out certain foods that are food groups without medical, religious, cultural, or ethical reasons for doing so. Engaging in severely restricted dietary practices or such as cleanses, fasts, or eating only raw foods. The inability to deviate from specific eating style or dietary regimen without feeling extreme anxiety. Unusual interest in the health of what others are eating, or having an unusual interest in or excessively critical view of other people's eating habits, having an outside sense of pride in their health and eating habits, and lastly, spending an inordinate amount of time planning, buying, and preparing meals. Wow. In addition to this effect, scientists, psychological, social well-being, orthorexia can have a detrimental effect on the body. So I'm going to wrap it up at that time. At that point, I appreciate the author's input, but I'm not really into that. Here's the next subject we want to talk about today from the current issue of Health, Nutrition Health Review magazine. And it is the article entitled, Why Do We Squat, Bench Press, and Deadlift? So it talks about weight training and its effect on our health. Hopefully, the author will be a little bit more in sync with our values than the previous article. I hope so. Would like to think so. And I want to just save this and push this next one up. Why do we squat, bench press, and deadlift? Bench press should be one word, right? That's right. Why do we squat, bench press, and deadlift? And I'm going to put up this link. And I welcome you, Shabaka. I see you in the house. He says, greetings, everyone. It's always a joy to be a part of this greatness. Thank you, man. That's really positive of you. And I do love you for being in the house today. Brother Junius, not Brother Junius, Brother Shabaka. And the reason I'm talking, I didn't put up the right link for this. So we're going to copy and I'm going to put up this link in Rumble. This is the article we're right now on. I'm going to put it up on YouTube. And I'm going to push this up on Facebook so that those of you tuned in today will have access to what it is that we are sharing. Why do we bench press, squat, and deadlift? Here we go. You can't, this quote from George Burns, you can't help getting older, but you don't have to get old. George Burns, the comedian, of course. Recently, the author writes, I was scrolling, and this author is by Emily Sokolinsky. Emily Sokolinsky. She's the author. Recently, I was scrolling through my Facebook homepage and saw an article in the Washington Post. The loss of muscle mass and bone density are two of the most critical issues affecting older women as they age. The article focused on how women can combat these issues. Before I even read the article, I decided to look at the comments. As I was scrolling, I came across a woman's comment that actually made my blood boil. I usually never comment on someone else's observation because 99.9% of the time, it is not worth my time. However, this particular comment really made me mad. Quote, oxymoron. As you become weaker, resistance training becomes harder or near impossible, compounded by joint pain. Only an academic would write such foolishness. Some young, healthy idiot assigning blame to the victim of aging, aches, and pains like they were a moral failing, unquote. I reread the comment a few more times and saw that this person had made multiple comments about why this article, this kind of article, was nonsense. It was infuriating. I knew it was only one person's opinion, but I also knew her opinion is similar that many others hold regarding strength training for women, especially for older women. I had to respond to her comment. Now, I'm going to skip forward a little bit. Aging is inevitable, but how you age is up to us. Many people, like the commenter above, who are over the age of 60, often think that they are too old to begin a strength training program. But the truth is, you are never too old or too young to get stronger, move better, build muscle, and strengthen bones. And the strength program has to match the trainee. Most older adults would benefit greatly from increased mobility, along with increased strength and the independence that comes from it. Additionally, a well planned strength training routine can help increase bone density, prevent sarcopenia, muscle loss, and improve balance. At 5x3, my strength training gym in Baltimore, all of my clients train the same way. This includes my 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, and yes, my 80-year-olds. Everyone who joins the gym learns how to squat, how to press overhead, how to bench, and how to deadlift. In addition to these four main exercises, they also do rows or sled drags, pull downs, and prowler pushes. And when I say everyone, I mean everyone, even my older clients. Older adults who are just people who have lived longer. They can learn how to lift heavy things too, just like the 30-year-olds. Their programming may look a little different than the 40-somethings program, but that's it. Other than different programming, all my lifters train the big compound full body lifts. This means using a barbell as part of their training. Now, I will say this because I'm already got a little bit of a problem with this article. I'm going to try my best not to be overly critical because she is talking about assisting people in their 20s through their 80s. And I think she should be commemorated for that. But also, I see her kind of focusing on obsessing with the bars. And I do not do this type of weight training. I do use gravity, I think that gravity is the best way for me to measure my own strength against gravity. So I will engage in a bunch of different exercises. I do 9, 10, 11, about 11, 12 different exercises per day. But bench training, weight training, I don't do barbells. Now, find out why. Finding the why. Squat, bench, press, and deadlift. Why do we use barbells in our strength training program at 5x3? Barbells let us train real strength by focusing on normal human movements like sitting and standing, pushing and pulling, picking things up, reaching overhead, and carrying something. Barbells are adaptable to fit any fitness level, making them one of the most effective tools for lifelong strength and mobility. By emphasizing movements over muscles, barbells help us balance total body strength, balance, and resilience, key factors in countering muscle and bone loss and staying active as we age. They are scalable, coming in different sizes, and can be modified as needed for the trainee. Barbells are comprehensive, specific to our training, simple, efficient, and safe. They help us stay mobile and flexible by allowing us to work through full range of motion. Barbells also help us with our balance and, of course, help us build more muscle and stronger bones. Why do we squat? Is our next question. And here, 1 second. I just want to wet my whistle. Ah, thank you. Why do we squat? She asked. And just double checking, see if anybody's in the house. Nobody talking to me. I hope you're there. People are there. We appreciate that. Why do we squat? Again, the article is called Why Do We Squat, Bench Press, and Deadlift? We squat so we can get off the toilet by ourselves. We squat so we can continue to climb the stairs, so we can get in and out of the car with ease, so we can attend events without worrying about difficult terrain, i.e., flat, hills, gravel, etc. And why do I squat? The last extreme squatting I did, I got on a program of squatting, and I am actually on it right now. But I did a program of squatting before going to climb Blue Mountain in Jamaica, the highest point in the Caribbean. And the Blue Mountain climb is 9 hours. Actually, it's 6 hours going up, 3 hours coming down. The first time I climbed Blue Mountain, it was February. It was icy cold. I had on blue jeans. It rained all day long. So the blue jeans weighed about 40 pounds by the time I got to the top of the mountain. And no one had warned me to train before going up the mountain. So I started squat training. And I think I got up to 250 squats at a time. That was quite a bit. And that was why I was squat training. I went to climb the mountain the second time, and it was a breeze. It shocked me and surprised me that I was actually at the top of Blue Mountain when I was up there. It was pretty awesome. So why do I squat? Because I wanted to climb Blue Mountain with the young people. And I did it at probably was about 55 years old or so, about that, maybe 57. Why do we overhead press and bench? We press so we continue to have the ability to reach for things out of the cupboard in our kitchens. So we can help our luggage, so we can help get our luggage into the overhead compartment on a plane. So we have the upper body strength to carry our own shopping bags. Why do we deadlift? We deadlift so we can learn to pick up things correctly and more easily from the floor, so we can make our backs stronger. Insights from Emily's lifters. She's going to share some insights. So, if barbells are so important, and now we understand what they can do for us in our training, why are these specific exercises so important? I'm just going to share one of these quotes. This is from Sue. She's age 74. Sue writes, as my mother aged, she was quite disabled from arthritis, and I didn't want to end up like her, unable to get out of a chair without help. I think it to squat so I can stay as mobile as possible for as long as possible. Another issue has been my bad back, which has bothered me for at least a decade. My daughter also has had a bad back in the past, and she kept nagging me to try strength training. I had tried everything else, acupuncture, PT, cortisone shots, and nothing really worked. So I figured, what the hell? I will give strength training a try. And it has helped enormously. I am much more limber. I can actually bend over without pain and have much less back pain in general. And that is appreciable. And there are other quotes of other people's experiences. I'm going to share one more. Mona, age 87. She wrote, I squat because it builds muscle to allow me to walk securely on every kind of surface, grass, pebbles, uneven ground, carry heavy loads, arise from chairs easily, and not worry about getting up from a low toilet without a handrail. It gives me the strength to get up after a fall, catch my daughter's cat when she escapes outside, and reactivate my brain's readiness to carry out my body's commands. I press to build strength so I can easily handle ordinary and heavier objects. So my body becomes strengthened in all areas, enabling my ability to reach up and safely complete upper body tasks. I deadlift so I develop the strength and technique for lifting heavy objects, so I can capture the cat on rough ground, easily pick her up, and feel secure doing this. In general, I train because it has given me back an active life and allows me to resume many things that I had let go of. Critical importance, it has reawakened areas of my brain that had not been on alert to respond when called upon to do so. That has totally changed. Lastly, I train because it makes me happy. That's a beautiful testimony, Mona, age 87 years old. Why does she train? Because it makes her happy. And I would venture to say that every exercise, every uh, example of physical activity Mona relates to there, I want to be like Mona. Yes, yes, yes. So this is a good research article. We've got two more articles we're going to talk about. Introducing health literacy highlights, an overview of health literacy. I talked about earlier. This is something that I kind of obsess over, and you know, I do this every day. So we're going to do the best we can to continue to do the best we can. Health literacy matters. Introducing health literacy highlights an overview of health literacy, written by Sarah Beth Lowe, MPH. I am pleased to announce a new column in the Nutrition Health Review, Health Literacy Highlights. Each issue, I will cover a new topic related to finding, understanding, and using health information. The Nutritional Health Review provides well-researched and informative articles on various health conditions, trends, and topics. This column is meant to empower you to the skills you need to apply when you already know and use it, what you already know, and use it to maintain and protect your overall health and well-being. Before diving into more specific topics, though, it's important to cover the basics of health literacy and the central role it plays in everyday life. What is health literacy? According to the World Health Organization, health literacy represents a person's accumulated personal knowledge and competencies that allow them to access, understand, appraise, and use information and services in ways that promote and maintain good health and well-being. In short, it describes your capacity to make informed decisions about your health. It empowers you to successfully interact with the health care system, advocate for your needs, and maintain and improve your overall well-being. And I highly, highly do make that point. To advocate for your needs, to interface with the system, you must have health literacy. And I would suggest, based upon a conversation I had yesterday with a good brother, a very wise brother, but who had not necessarily been preparing himself to deal with the medical health field, you have to protect your best self-interest. And you are going to have to protect them going up against he had 3 doctors. There was his cardiologist, his dealt with blood, I can't think of the name right now. Not an orthodontist. It has something to do with your blood. But he had to deal with a cancer specialist, oncologist, cardiologist, and a nephrologist. And he was dealing with a blood doctor. So he had 4 doctors. Now, they're collaborating, cooperating, or they're not. They are either collaborating, cooperating against you, or they are not collaborating and cooperating for your best self-interest. I told him, put me on that team, put me in the mix. And if I give you impractical advice and commentary, you should be able to catch it. Catch me too. So put together your team, and then you need to prepare yourself to be able to ask your team what's in your best self-interest. I'm emphasizing that point. Since the term was first introduced in 1974, the concept of health literacy has gained momentum and evolved. While its core definition has remained the same, experts have broadened the term to encapsulate and respond to the digital transformation's impact on the management of health and health knowledge. Healthy People 2030, the 5th iteration of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services initiative, updated the term to address 2 specific types of health literacy. Type number 1, personal health literacy, describes the degree to which individuals have the ability to find, understand, and use information and services to inform health-related decisions and actions for themselves and others. And 2, organizational health literacy describes the degree to which organizations equitably enable individuals to find, understand, and use information and services to inform health-related decisions and actions for themselves and others. The expanded definition reflects the 3 key features of health literacy. Number 1, the ability to use health information rather than simply understanding it, using that information to make well-informed health decisions, and the critical role that organizations such as healthcare institutions, insurance companies, and public health systems have in addressing this issue. It also acknowledges that health literacy is a two-way street. The burden of limited health literacy should not lie solely on the individual. Organizations have an ethical responsibility to adopt strategies, not strengths, strategies to address healthy literacy and make it easier for people to use their services, organizations. So who has limited health literacy? Certain factors, including age, gender, income, occupation, poverty, racial ethnic minority status, and language skills, are associated with differences in rates of health literacy. Research shows that low socioeconomic status, particularly low education attainment, is the most important detriment of health literacy. These differences can impact whether people can easily develop and use health literacy skills, and whether they have access to quality, trustworthy information and service. While strong literacy and numeracy skills can help people understand and use health information, they are not foolproof. Research shows that most people struggle with jargon-filled, unfamiliar, complicated, and overly technical language. This will continue to be a relevant issue as self-management of care increases and individuals assume more independent roles in seeking health information, understanding their rights and responsibilities, and making health decisions for themselves and others. People often face literacy issues when they, one, aren't familiar with how their bodies work, two, are relying on unfamiliar or technical information, three, have to interpret statistics and health data, four, need to weigh the risks and benefits of certain behaviors, the decisions or care options that affect their health and safety. Five, are scared, confused, or under distress, which can occur during emergencies or when they or a loved one are diagnosed with a serious illness. Six, have health conditions that require complicated or self-managed care. And seven, when they need to understand issues that are voting for policies, and they need to understand issues and are voting for policies that influence personal and public health. So those are 7 criteria where people have shown to be deficient in health literacy that they must maintain and keep up. Why is health literacy important? Health literacy is important for everyone because it is an everyday issue. We all need to be able to find, understand, and use health information and services. Though completing health assessment forms or measuring medications might seem like simple, mundane tasks, it is these basic skills that can prevent health problems, protect our well-being, and better manage problems when they arise. Even ordinary, non-health related tasks, like interpreting a nutrition label or discerning between reliable and unreliable scientific information online, require people to employ health literacy skills. The pervasiveness of these skills means that low health literacy has far reaching impacts on personal and public health, overall health, and well being. Numerous studies demonstrate that correlation between low health literacy and poor health status. People with higher health literacy skills are more likely to make decisions that protect and promote their physical and mental well being, which can have a cumulative effect on their overall health. On the contrary, people with inadequate or marginal health literacy often struggle with poor self care behaviors, receive fewer preventative measures, and have increased all cause mortality. Disease outcomes. Health literacy is an important factor in disease prevention and control. At the individual level, limited health literacy can be a major barrier to effectively manage chronic diseases, such as diabetes and asthma, because it limits a person's ability to obtain, understand, process, and act upon important health information. On the organizational level, health literacy skills allow people to better understand and process public health guidance. For example, people's ability to access, process, and understand essential health information during the epidemic was an important factor in mitigating the spread of disease. Now, I'm not even going to go in there. I'm going to leave it alone. You know why I'm leaving it alone. Because I'm on YouTube. Cost and quality of care. Health literacy is considered a key source of economic inefficiency in the United States healthcare system. Through all of its impacts, including medical errors, miscommunication, increased illness and disability, loss of wages, and compromised public health, low health literacy is estimated to cost the U.S. economy up to $349 billion every year. $349 billion. That's a lot of money. When adjusted for inflation, $23 using the Bureau of Labor Statistics CPI inflation calculator. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, improving health literacy could prevent nearly 1 million hospital visits and save over $25 billion a year. Health equity. Populations with limited health literacy skills disproportionately experience adverse health outcomes and poorer access to quality care. These inequalities are deeply entrenched, often reinforcing each other and further broadening the gap. Health literacy is a fundamental public health issue because of its innate link to health equity. In a nutshell, health equity means that everyone has a fair and just opportunity to be as healthy as possible. It describes the attainment of the highest level of health for all people and serves as one of the foremost goals in all public health interventions. Lastly, looking forward. This brief overview of health literacy hardly scratches the surface of its critical role in personal and public health, but it does set the stage for the upcoming editions of this column, whether it's explaining the differences between misinformation and disinformation, discussing the growing role of artificial intelligence in healthcare, or learning how to navigate the ever-growing body of online health information. There is plenty of ground to cover. Sharpening your health literacy skills will empower you to make better informed decisions about your physical, mental, and social well being. I'm excited to have you come along for the journey. And I do agree completely with the author. She wrote, and I'm going to requote, sharpening your health skills, literacy skills will empower you to make better informed decisions about your physical, mental, and social well-being. I, Kidi Obiawadu, I am very excited to be joining you on this journey. So I think we got through everything. Did I finish everything? There are other articles in the journal for today that we do need to be paying attention to. Again, today we have been talking about looking inside this relatively unknown nutrition research journal. And that last article talked about why exactly you need to subscribe to Nutrition Health Review. Guess how much I paid for this? Nothing, nada, nada. They need to ship out lots of copies of it. So we looked today at, and we didn't really consider air pollution. I do want to take just a moment here to talk about this air pollution issue because it is getting worse. It's bad. It's getting worse. And the problem about it is that we are all susceptible to it. I eat clean. I live clean. I do the best I can to remain as clean as possible. But I breathe. And I breathe in air that's been stepped on quite a bit. I'm going to share just a few paragraphs on this, the health impacts of air pollution. And of course, I'm going to talk about the solution to air pollution is regular seasonal detoxification fasting. Air pollution impacts, the health impacts of air pollution. There's no author attributed here. Air pollution refers to the presence of harmful contaminants in the atmosphere, such as dust, fumes, gases, mists, odors, smoke, or vapors that pose a risk to human health. Inhaling these pollutants can cause damage to various agents, to various organs, including the lungs, heart, and brain. Short-term exposure can impair lung function, increase the likelihood of respiratory infections, and worsen asthma. Long-term exposure raises the risk of developing chronic non-communicable diseases, NCDs, including stroke, heart disease, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, and certain cancers. Children, older adults, and pregnant women are particularly vulnerable to air pollution related health issues. Additionally, factors such as genetics, comorbidities, nutrition, and socio-demographic characteristics can influence an individual's susceptibility to the harmful effects of air pollution. While the general health risks of air pollution are well established, emerging research has highlighted the impact on the development of neurological diseases, such as dementia and Parkinson's disease. These chronic conditions, which primarily affect older adults, have been linked to long-term exposure to air pollutants. As more research is conducted on the links between air pollution and health problems, more attention is being brought to the dangers of air pollution and its long-term effects on human health. The article goes on, and I hope you are hearing the threat to you. You can eat good. I eat very well. You can drink clean water. I do the best I can. You can do so many things right to protect your health. But with every breath, if you are living in a city with bad air like Las Vegas, like Los Angeles, like New York, Like most major cities in the world, if you are living in London, Manchester, Birmingham, Paris, like most major cities in the world, you are sharing air with polluters. Sources of air pollution, particular particle matter, PM, is defined as the combination of solid particles and liquid drops in the air. Particulate matter are classified into two categories: PM10 and PM2.5. PM PM10 and PM2.5. PM10 particles are typically 10 micrometers or less. PM2.5 particles are typically 2.5 micrometers or smaller. PM10 particulate matter can travel into the lungs and pass through the bloodstream. PM2.5 is the most dangerous form of the fine particles, as these can easily be inhaled, increasing the risk for serious health complications. Fine particles are too small to be seen individually, but at high pollution levels, they can make the air look thick and hazy. Sources of particulate matter include motor vehicles, factories, power plants, burning wood, and wildfires. Coarse particles can include wind-blown dust, ash, and pollen. And while fine particles are often a byproduct of burning wood or fossil fuels and may contain toxic compounds, salts, and metals, fine particles can also contain carbon monoxide, ozone, nitrogen dioxide, and sulfur dioxide. Ooh, made me want to clear my throat after hearing all of that. Mm. We continue. Health conditions associated with air pollution. Please pay attention. Fine particulate matter is particularly dangerous, as these tiny particles can penetrate deep into the lungs, enter the bloodstream, and travel to other organs, potentially causing systemic damage, inflammation, and carcinogenicity. High levels of particulate pollution can cause illness, hospitalization, and premature death. Research suggests that PM 2.5 is responsible for nearly 48,000 premature deaths in the US each year. Current research has elicited growing concerns regarding the harmful effects of air pollution on brain and central nervous system disorders such as dementia and Parkinson's disease. Please, people, please, I beg of you, please pay attention. You don't have to use my system for detoxification, but you do have to. You have to engage in systematic, regular detoxification. You must. My system encourages all of us to do it 4 times a year. And there are 11 stages of detoxifying our bodies in the living superfood detox process. 11 stages. Can you do it? Yes, you can. Will you clean your body? Is yet to be determined. But I encourage you, please. It talks further about dementia. Fine particulate matter is linked to an increased risk of dementia, as it can affect cognitive function through neuroinflammation caused by systemic inflammation or oxidative stress following lung inhalation. Irritation. The smallest particles, often coated with neurotoxic chemicals, can enter the brain via the olfactory bulb or cross the blood-brain barrier. A study looking at the relationship between air pollution and dementia in the U.S. studied 27,857 individuals aged 50 years or older and free of dementia at the start of the study. Between 1998 and 2016, over a mean follow-up of 10.2 years, 15% of participants developed dementia. Higher levels of total PM2 were linked to increased rates of new dementia cases. PM2 from various sources, with the most pollution streaming from farming, automobiles, and wildfires. While traffic and coal combustion were also associated with dementia risk, these results were more sensitive to adjustments for fine particles from other sources. The researchers estimated that nearly 188,000 new dementia cases each year in the US are attributable to total fine particle response. Compared to those without dementia, participants who developed the condition were more likely to be non-white, have lower education and wealth, and reside in areas with higher ambient fine particle levels. Building on the growing body of research linking air pollution to dementia, another study conducted by the Emory Gounzueta Alzheimer's Disease Research Center further investigated this connection by analyzing post-mortem brain tissue. The goal of the study was to determine whether changes in DNA methylation, DNMA or DNAM, in the brain's prefrontal cortex significantly affected neuropathological markers associated with Alzheimer's disease due to exposure to traffic-related particulate matter 2.5. In total, 159 eligible donors were included in the study. The eligibility criteria included having a residential address in Georgia, being 55 years or older at the time of death, the date of death after 1999, and no missing data on factors such as race, sex, and education. The average age at death of the participants was 76.6 years, and 56% of the participants were male. Overall, most of the participants were white, 89.3%, 78.7% had completed college, and were living in wealthy neighborhoods. The donor brains were examined to determine the amount of beta amyloid B plaques or alpha beta plaques and neurofibrillary tangles, NFTs, which are present in the brains of patients with dementia. These are also present in the tissues, not just the brains, but the tissues of people with amyloidosis. I covered amyloidosis, I think, 2 times this past week. If you don't know about amyloidosis, you really need to go back and look for those 2 programs. It's very, very important. Again, the donor patients were examined to determine the amount of beta amyloid plaques and neurofibrillary tangles, which are present in the brains of patients with dementia. PM 2.5 particles from the 20 counties within the metropolitan area of Atlanta, Georgia, were calculated yearly from 2002 to 2019 with 2 air quality models. Researchers removed deoxyribonucleic acid DNA from each of the donor brains and analyzed a total of 167 prefrontal cortex samples, including 6 duplicates. The researchers looked at extended PM 2.5 exposure 1, 3, and 5 years prior to death to determine the association between particle matter 2.5 exposure and increased neuropathology markers indicative of dementia. Overall, the researchers discovered that the differential DNA M located in the prefrontal cortex tissues were strongly associated with long-term exposure to traffic-related PM 2.5 as a result of dementia. Parkinson's disease. And I'm going to just share just a little bit. I'm going to go to the conclusion and we're going to wrap it up for today. Parkinson's disease. Research indicates that air pollution may contribute to the risk of Parkinson's disease through systemic inflammation, oxidative stress, and direct toxicity upon entering the brain. Small particulate pollutants can travel to the brain through the olfactory system, creating a direct anatomical link from the nose to the brain. These particles may also reach the brain through the autonomic nervous system or the bloodstream. Research has indicated that pollutants and PM 2.5 can be harmful to the human brain, both directly and indirectly, when crossing through the blood-brain barrier, which can also lead to neuroinflammation and abnormal protein aggregation, which in turn damages the olfactory bulb and frontal cortex, leading to the development of Parkinson's disease. And I'm going to skip over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 long paragraphs and look at the conclusion. Air pollution, particularly the particulate matter PM 2.5, presents a significant threat to human health, with both short-term and long-term exposure linked to a range of chronic diseases. Emerging research has highlighted the growing concern over air pollution's role in the development and progression of neurodegenerative diseases, such as dementia and Parkinson's disease. Studies have highlighted that long-term exposure to traffic-related pollutants, particularly PM 2.5, is associated with an increased risk of cognitive decline and movement disorders, such as Parkinson's disease, especially among older adults. As discussed, some studies have not made concrete connections between the effects of air pollution and human health. However, the growing amount of evidence highlights the need to raise awareness and to mitigate air pollution. That was really, really good. There are a lot of articles in this current issue, last month's issue, of Nutritional Health Review, the Consumer's Medical Journal. I'm going to highly recommend you sign up for it. You can use the links that I used today. Sign up for it. Get your copy of it. You will not miss out. And let me just double check to make sure everybody got your word in. And we have a good size audience. I'm glad you stuck with me. It got kind of technical. That's that health literacy that we were talking about. And also, I offered up a solution this week. The 20th of June marks the first day of summer. The first day of summer, I am going to invite you to join us on a detox campaign. You can get access to this information on the website. Now, bear with me. I've not been able to update the website of recently because of circumstances. But the website is detox it's http forward slash LSF, which stands for Living Superfood Detox, lsfdetox.com. I also have it available. You can do it in 2 payments, or you can do it in a single payment. The single payment obviously is less expensive. I'm going to highly recommend you do it. And I'm pushing up the link right now for our Rumble listeners. Join the upcoming June 20th detox. And how do you join it? I don't know how I spell join. JPOM JOIN, the upcoming detox fast. And you can do so at two different links. You can pay a single payment, or you can pay 2 payments, and you're going to get it. It's going to be less expensive if, of course, you pay the single payment. But the 2 payments breaks it up for those of you who are on a budget. And I understand, yeah, things are real tight right now. I know they are. That I do want you to be able to participate in our detox fast. And we're going to get it all clean. Just that article on particulate matter should frighten all of us and get us onto a proper and effective detox campaign for life. For life. Do it for the rest of your life. I'm posting the links up I'll post it up in the comment section below this for today. Let me press this in here. And I'm also going to post it up on the various pages. You know how to find it. So we're going to be talking about this 21-day detox. It includes books. It includes a lot of research, and it's a group detox. That's the thing about it is, group detoxing is better for us than single doing it all by ourselves. I'm going to highly, highly recommend a single payment or 2 payments. The 2 payments will be spread out by 2 weeks. And I want you to be a participate in it for life. For life. It's a no-win. It's a no-risk deal. You will learn more during this 21-day detox with me or brother. You will learn more about detoxing than you've ever been able to learn before in life. So I'm kind of like flailing and beating a dead horse now. No, I'm not. I am encouraging the live horse to win the race. The race is for life. It is for longevity. We can do this because we are wise enough, smart enough to make a difference. I encourage each and every one of you to make a difference in your life, in your environment. We've come a long way together, but we have got so much further to go. And that's why you tune into your favorite. We aim to be your favorite. We are LIB Radio, LIB TV. We are truly living in black.com. I wish you all peace and prosperity. I wish you all the absolute best. I'll be back again with you tomorrow with another round of the Conscious Rasta Report here on LIB Radio, LIB TV here on livinginblack.com. Peace and prosperity to each and every one of you.